the understanding how you can be effective, not just in Ukraine, but at any country, any nation of the world. Wherever you go, how you can become effective, both on personal level and on social level, on the level of your administration or the level of your influence, social influence, things like that, okay? So, and I will touch some other, specific topics that might be helpful at the end, all right? But before I will start, let me explain a little bit for you to understand that, I will touch the sphere of church shift. First of all, you have to understand the idea of God was, and it still is, to redeem back the earth. What does it mean to redeem back the earth? Of course, the gospel of the kingdom. I should not give you probably the explanation of gospel of the kingdom. What is that? You understand what is the gospel of the kingdom? You understand? Okay, explain to you more. All right. Okay, let me explain. The gospel of the kingdom, Jesus Christ, he never preached and he never taught people of just the gospel. Why? Because gospel itself is just a good news. But it has to be a good news about something. Yes? For example, where are you from? Which country? Nigeria. What if I'll tell you, your parents, they have contacted me because you were, offline, something. They have contacted me and they gave me the news for you. They asked me to pass the news for you. Oh, the news is good. You can't imagine. It's a great news. You have to hear that news. So that was the news for you, specifically for you, my brother. Okay, goodbye. See you later. Did you get something? What do you want? What do you need from me? What's the news? What's the information? So when we talk gospel, it's a good news, but it should be a good news about something, a good news of something. And Jesus, the gospel that Jesus has preached, he had preached the gospel of kingdom. The gospel of kingdom. The gospel of kingdom consists of two major parts. Number one, the gospel of salvation. So what God has done to us, what God has done for us, he has redeemed us, he has died for us, he has, he covers our sins, he heals, he blesses, he gives us prosperity, everything, the gospel of salvation, that the gospel that gives us the news of what God has done to us. That we should not perish anymore because of our sins. There should not be condemnation from devil. But we know that God has given us redemption. So that's the good news. That's the good news of salvation. But that's only 50% of the gospel. Another 50% is the implementation of everything we have heard from God, the implementation in our lives. In other words, it's a gospel of good works. Jesus said that we have to love God with all of our hearts, our strength, our mind, and our lives. Is that so? But then he said there is another commandment. Second commandment is you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself. How we can love our neighbors? We love our neighbors by getting love from God. We pass that love to our neighbors. So getting love from God, that's the gospel of salvation. Giving love to our neighbors, that's the gospel of good works. And for example, let me ask you a question. Do you love people? How do you know? How can you make me sure? How you can convince me that you love people? The way you relate to people. So in other words, it doesn't matter how many sermons you can hear or listen about God's love, unless you start love people, you don't really know whether you love people or not. You understand what I'm talking about? For example, whom of you have heard, I don't know, any business, gurus, any business preachers? Whom of you have heard some of these? Let's say Tony Robbins, guru of motivation. You can hear the message, but you don't really know. You can't be sure that you got it unless you start to work it out, practice it. If you don't practice, you don't get it. You don't know. You cannot be sure. You can't be sure. It's not possible. So the same thing. The gospel of salvation without gospel of good works, it's nothing. Just only 50% of the gospel. That is why, for example, and when God said that He wants to redeem back the earth, in other words, He wants us to get the message of the salvation and then to bring that message of salvation by our good works. But each of us, we are very unique. So we are bringing that gospel, we are bringing that redemption of earth, we are bringing that gospel of good works in a unique way. Each of us, we have a unique way. Who of you can tell me the name of that unique way? Each of us we have. What makes all of us different in the eyes of God, in the meaning of bringing good works on, back to earth? Good works of God.
Gifts and calling for both.
Gifts, calling, you're absolutely right. Our calling, that's what makes us unique. All of us, even sitting in the same room, all of us, we are the same, we have the same value in the eyes of God, but all of us, we are totally different because it's like a fingerprint. All of us, we have different callings. All of us, different gifts and callings. And having that different calling, actually God wants to use our calling to redeem the earth back for him. In other words, for example, if I am the businessman, let's say in Nigeria, most of businessmen, they are, let's say, many people who are connected with money in Nigeria, they have problem of corruption. Do you know about it? People are corrupted. In other words, the level of, the way they think, the way they act, the traditions of that territory, financial sphere, it has lots of corruption. Corruption, is it a godly thing or it's a devil thing? So it's evil. It's not from God. It's not godly, yeah? All right, so in other words, my redemption of that sphere, if I call, in the sphere of finances, is to change the rules, to change the principles. In other words, to change the values of that sphere. And that will be the gospel of good works from me. In other words, being saved, I know that if before I steal, then Jesus said, if before you steal something, now you should not steal. If before you committed adultery, now you should not do it. Do you know about it? So gospel of salvation, that's what God redeemed me from all of my previous sins. And now I have to pass that, holiness, everything, the redemption, everything I got from God, I have to pass it. I have to bring it back. I have to redeem with these new principles. I have to redeem that sphere. Redeem means I need to change the principles, the way people live. That's actually that's what we call a redemption. But I can't do it all over the globe by myself. It's not possible. And even if I would be able to do this, do you know that there are different types of people which have different languages, they have different culture. For example, people of business, sometimes it's really hard for them to find common language with the people of art. Or young people, 16 years old, 17, it's hard for them sometimes to find common language with the people of 50, 60 years old. We speak on different languages. You know about it? Students and politicians, different languages. So all of us, we have to realize and we have to understand that we have unique calling, and that unique calling was given to us by God in order to redeem our specific sphere, the specific sphere of life. You understand that, yes? All right, very good. Yes, 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 of course.
Let's say I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
And I'm selling shoes.
Yes.
How can I bring
Principles of the kingdom.
yes into it? What should be my goal?
Okay, very good. Let me explain.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
So that you can answer everything
Yes.
together. Should my goal be that I want to, through this business I'm doing, I want to make more money so that I can sponsor God's work? Or what should be my goal? I'm just a shoe seller.
Okay, I understand. First of all, we have to understand that when we talk about selling something, it's not about money. Money is just a tool. Money is a consequence. If money would be your goal, then probably, and that's what, biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes that most of the Christians, who are connected with the business, especially in sales, they do. Because if money your goal, then when you start selling, sometimes you may even break or you may act like non-Christian in order to achieve that goal. But as a Christian, your goal should not be the money, but the money should become the consequence. It should be the result, that comes after. That's the second thing. The thing number one is service, the customer service. Do you realize that many people, for example, in Africa, if they have prices, if they have if the supplier gives them a good price, they don't really care about the customers because they know that the price is good. So whatever services, customer services they will provide, because of the price, people will buy things from them. Do you know about it? And that's why, for example, me being many times in Africa, in Nigeria specifically, I see the level of the customer service is very poor. Why? Because they know any kind of the customer service they will provide, people will still buy. Because there is no other opportunity. There is no choice for them. They will still buy. But, for example, there is this store, I forgot the name of it. They have in shopping malls, they have this, food store. ShopRite, ShopRite? ShopRite store. The customer service there is not so good. It's not really good. But because there is no competition, there is no conquering, nobody conquers them. So actually, the kind of service they provide, it's like very poor. But if you are a shoe seller, you have to provide such a good, such a quality service as the customer service of heaven. For example, let me ask you a question. If you go to heaven, and the customer, let's say you are God or you are Apostle Peter, and the person comes to you, how will you treat that person? You're sitting on the throne, and someone is coming to you. How will you treat the person? As a king. Is that so? As a royal priesthood. So if you sell shoes, so how you should treat, according to the kingdom culture, how you should treat every customer? Like a king. And let me ask you a question. For example, if you buy shoes and I sell you the shoes, and you feel that I treat you as a customer like a king, will you come back to me, to my store? Why? Because of the price? Because of the shoes? Behavior. Service. You understand? That's one of the spheres. That's one of the ways how you can redeem, how you can bring back the kingdom into that sphere. It's not about money. But if you will come and continue to come, will you recommend me and my store to your friends? Of course. As a consequence, as a result, what about money? Income will be increased. You get that? So actually, it's not about money. And of course, when I have more money, of course I can donate money. I can give money for, God's work, but it's not the goal. That's the consequence. Okay, that's number one, so customer service. Number two is the quality of the service, and the number of the service you provide. Most of the sellers, you know what they do? They only sell you shoes. That's all what they do. That's everything. They sell the shoes. They want your money. They are more oriented on the issue, on the fact of exchange. You give me money, I give you the product. That's all what I want. No. What I have to do, I have to think, okay, how can I help that person even after I sold him a pair of shoes? I want that person to come back. So I want to provide him even more services. So I create new types, new kinds of services for the customer, so the customer could feel the care from me. It's not just a customer service. That's the way, you remember, the thing number one, that's the way I treat my customers. But the thing, I produce new services. For example, if I sell the shoes, thinking like, okay, most of my customers, there is a dust. In Nigeria, they have, you have these brown or red soil, and you have this special type of dust. Sometimes you have it on shoes. For example, if I would sell shoes, I would do at my store, I would create the free cleaning of shoes, but on the territory of my store, for free. So every time they pass my store, if their shoes are not clean, they would come and I give them for free. You understand? So I produce something new. If you will do things like that, let me ask you a question. 6 months later, the rest, other sellers of shoes, what will they do? They will start to do the same. You know about it? So in other words, you start to influence them with the ideas that comes to you from, your heart. And the heart is serve. It is more blessed to give rather than receive. Do you know that principle? So why do I give these free services? Because it's much more blessed to give. So I implement this principle. You understand that? Money, once again, money is just a consequence. That's not the goal. Of course, you create, then you using the strategies of kingdom, the strategy of system, ability to build systems. When you build a system, how you sell the shoes, you don't make just one store, but you create the network of stores. How you do it? For example, you train people. You find people who are motivated to do something, but they don't know. For example, find young people and train them. Create the training like camp or training, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. Train them, or 6 months. Train them in your store how to do, how to sell the shoes, and collect some money and open new stores. and put those people as managers in those stores and create the same customer service, the same products, like post-sale services, that you can create. And doing like this, you make more money. You understand that? So money is not the goal. Money is the consequence. You understand that?
Sorry, I need one more.
Yes.
I'm very sorry. I don't mean to
That's okay.
Now, can I say like that if I'm doing that, I'm fulfilling God's purpose for my life, or I need to say, okay, let me be let's say I'm attending a church definitely. So let's say in my church, is it now compulsory? Is it still compulsory for me as a child of God to belong to a unit in my church, maybe prayer unit, evangelism unit, to say, oh yes, with this one, I'm fulfilling my purpose?
Yes.
I don't know if you understand my question.
Yeah, I understand very good. I'll explain you later. Later, you'll understand why I understand of what you were saying, because I've been asked this question for many years, many times. You can't imagine how many times. That's the understanding of church shift. Once again, the idea is that many churches, because they don't understand the concept of church shift, they don't really understand it at all. They don't understand. They see the religious activity, the only way they see the religious activity, that's inner, church inner, or church, inside the church activity. They see it, they see this kind of activity, they see it as the only type of this service that we can, as a Christians, we provide for God. And that is totally, wrong. Absolutely. Why? Once again, as I said, all of us, we've been created by God not to attend the church. Because the church is not the goal. It's like with the money. The church is not the goal. The goal is to redeem the earth. But the church is just a training camp. So I personally believe that every child of God, as a children of God, we must have two kinds, or we must provide two kinds of services, by means of our lives. Number one, within the church, because the church is like a family, it's a training camp. Of course, it's like, my parents. Now, when I was a child, and they were supporting me. They were supplying me with food, clothes, everything. They paid for my education. Now, as they're growing older, as their child, I have to supply them. Do you know about it? I have to support them. I have to support them with finances. It's a system, family. So the same within the church. When you're just a newborn, a new converted, when you just come to the church, someone should sing, someone should put the chairs, someone should play the keyboard, someone has to record like these, someone has to provide inner, church, inside the church services. And all of us as family members, it does not matter, your status, it doesn't matter how much money you have, all of us, we have to provide services. For example, inside the church, I serve as a pastor, my inner church ministry. For example, another guy, you'll see him, Anthony, even though he's a founder, hello, good to see you, good to see you. Good to see you.
We'll see after.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, within the church, he serves as a sound man. But outside of the church, he has his calling. He's called for to serve children. So he starts daycare centers where he establishes them on church principle, like kingdom principle, Christian principles. But inside the church, he's a sound man. You understand the thing. Another guy, for example, he helps to collect the money. Offering baskets, offering boxes. He passes them inside the church. But outside of the church, he's a coach. He's the financial coach. It's two different things. It doesn't matter. Inside the church, all of us, two kinds of services. Number one, inside the church. And number two, our calling. So the church is training camp for us to fulfill our calling. So then, after we realize in the church, we realize what is my calling, life calling, I have to start to do it as well. I have to start to do it there. It's like, for example, in my family, in our apartment, in the place where we live, in my home, even though I'm a pastor, but I wash dishes. I mop the floor. I have to do it. That's my family. That's what makes that place my home and my family. I participate, I take part. But outside of my family, that's my calling. You understand? So all of us, we must have these two kinds of services. But the church, because the church doesn't have this understanding of church shift, they don't see beyond their walls. They are not really focused there. They don't really understand that the church is outside. That is why the only proposal that they have, actually, the proposal for Christians, they have this, that's a proposal of inner church ministries, which are ushers, praise and worship, prayer team, men's ministry, women's ministry, what else? Outreach, Sunday school, what? Drummer, things like these. 10 or 15 ministries, that's all. But outside, you can't imagine. There are more than 10,000 different types of ministrations. For example, some of the ministries we have in our church, which are calling based, which are based on the callings of people. And we call them social projects or social ministries. They are preparation for marriage, family, family, not ministry, it's like a project for families. Financial, literacy, like helping people, financial management, budgeting money like these, things like that. Then also for retired people, service project for retired people. We teach them English. We teach them how to work on a computer, things like that. Another ministry we have, teaching English of just people. In Ukraine there are many people. All of them they study English in the schools, but they don't speak English. You noticed that probably. So we teach them for free. You understand? So we can have different ministries like these. For example, in our church, we have 35 ministries. This year, we want to start another 35 ministries, social projects. So actually, every church member, that's another project. And if you really understand the idea of the concept of the church shift, then the problem of the church growth, it can be solved automatically if you train and release in the sphere of the calling, each of the parishioner of the church, each member of the church. If they understand, if they see their calling and they operate in that calling, they will start bringing people, as they, of course they will teach, they will preach, and they will touch people with the principles of the kingdom. And of course they will ask you, okay, what should I do now? I like the way you do your business, for example. You sell the shoes. I like it. So what should I do? And you give, okay, let's go with me to the church. So you bring the person to the church, he spiritually grows, and then you help him, or the church helps him to determine his life calling. And if it's also a business, so he becomes your assistant. If it's not a business, if he has to become, let's say, I don't know, father or, something like that, then you send the person there. You understand that? So understanding of church shift, understanding this idea, this principle, that what will really help you to, to make the church effective. Actually, I don't believe that any church member, I don't believe that there are important church members and there are not important church members. For example, for me as a pastor, any church member is important. Why? Because God has created. Actually, whom of you can give me the definition of the word history? Whom of you can explain me what does it mean, history? History of humankind, human beings. What does it mean, history? What is our history? Past events. Okay. Okay, what else? What? Etiology. Okay, for me, that's summarization. No, that's a summarization of lives of people who realize who discovered their life destinies. Actually, we live, for example, I have Calvin Klein shoes. Calvin Klein. Who is Calvin Klein? The guy who discovered his life purpose and he started to make shoes. With all of us, we live in that history. Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace. Who are these? Why do we wear those brands? Because these are people who discovered their life destinies. So the main purpose of the church should be to help people to discover the life purposes of their church members. If we do these, then we start to influence the history. Because the modern, the present thing, the present time we are living in, for the next generation, that will be their history. So if we don't understand, if we don't help people to discover their life purposes in the church, then in other words, we don't influence the future history. You understand that? So the history that we have now, the history that we use now, for example, whom of you have tablets or sensor phones? Do you use them? Do you know that you use the history of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates? We use they add, with their lives, they add something to the history we are using now. You know this, of course, quote, that the nation that doesn't know its history has no future. So actually, if we don't use, all of us, we live by means of the history. But the history, that's nothing else but summarization of lives of people who lived before us, who realized or discovered their life purposes, and they implement their purposes. They complete it, they fulfill their life purposes. So for all of us, and for all of you, the main goal is not to become a church member, but the main goal is being a church member and spiritually growing in your church to find out, to discover your own life purpose. And then as you serve, for me as a pastor, if I understand the system, for example, if you are my church members, I would not just, I would be more focused. 95% of my work with you would be not for you to come to the church or not even to love you, but to help you to discover your life purpose. Do you know why? Let me show you the truth. Let's say if these are only 2 people in my church, all of you are non-believers. Let me give you an example. All of you are non-believers. Whom of you know that even non-believers, most of the non-believers, they want to know their life purpose. They at certain point of their lifetime, they ask themselves a question: why do I live for? What's the future? What should I do? Whom of you know this? Everybody asks this question. All right, let's say I have only 2 members in my church. Come here, please. My main work as a pastor should not be to help them to worship God. I do it because that's the way, or that's the instruments, or that's the atmosphere that will help them to understand, to build relationship with their Creator, okay? But why do they need that relationship? They need that relationship so the author and creator of their lives will help them, will open to them the manual, the future for their life. So I teach them how to discover their life purpose. And let's say he's for the business sphere, for the sphere of business, and he's for the sphere of youth or students, let's say, students, all right? So now, as a student, he found, now as a Christian, as a student and a Christian, he knows the principle of diligence. Is this a Christian principle? Yeah. Diligence. Yeah. Book of Proverbs, wisdom, diligence, hard work. These principles. Are they Christian? Are they taken from the Bible? Yeah. Yes. So as a student, I taught him, as a pastor, and he's a student, and he's called for students, I taught him this principle. So what he does, he goes, stay here, he goes and he starts to live. He's just a student, and you are students. And he, as a student, he becomes one of the best students. Why? Because do you know the diligent student become the best? Yeah. Is that so? Yeah. If he's a diligent, if he's a hard worker in studying, in the process of studying. Okay, now you also want to be a good student. Why? Because as a good student, you can get a better job, better profession, more knowledge. And let's say you're a non-believer. What will attract you in his life? His faith or his diligence and his results of his studying? Diligence. And you come to him and ask him a question: how can I become as good student as you are? And he starts to teach you the principle of diligence, hard work, understanding, how to work. He gives you the system, how to do your home assignments, how to work hard. And let's see, you see that your life is changing. You got, his life influenced on you. Will you be happy with that? And then you ask him, how did you become like this? And he tells you that, hey, in my church, I've been taught how to become a diligent person. What will be the next step for you? I want to come to the church. So work in that sphere. Work, do what you... So you have 1 follower already. And I'm a pastor. And now I taught you how to be a good businessman. Customer service, things like that. And now you start to do the business. And these are people who do the same, but they see that the results that you have and they have, these are different results. They see that you have some better results than they. Will you come to ask him about, his wisdom? Okay, come and ask him. And then you have to recommend them to come to me. So the same, do. And I'm a pastor. I'm at the church. So he brings new people to me. What do I do? Come. And you continue to do your job. What do I do to her? I do the same. I help her to discover her life calling. And let's say she's called, somewhere others. I prepare her and I send her to her sphere. Go that, bring people. They don't want. Okay, you don't want to have good results. Okay, I train them, I teach them the same, and I send them back. Now, let me ask you a question. As a pastor, Is my church growing? How is it growing? Self-multiplication. But do I fulfill God's goal? Why? Because each of these people, they redeem that sphere. In other words, they bring the principles. You understand that? That's what I mean when I say redemption of earth for God. That's what God said. Kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom. King and the domination of his principles. That, in other words, if she does like these in this sphere, or he does, then he brings the kingdom here. Kingdom on this territory. So sooner or later, these principles, the principles that he has presented, to that institute or university, they start to dominate within that university. You understand? And that university becomes Christian university, not because of its history, but he becomes a new history for this university. Amen. You understand that? Do you understand why some people in our universities or in your environment, do you know why some of them, they don't want to go to the church? Do you want to hear the truth? Harsh truth. You want to hear that? Because of you. They don't want to come to the church because of you and your principles. You can preach them as much as you want. They don't care about that. Whom of you have kids already? Some of you have kids? None of you. No children. It doesn't matter what you will tell your children. The only thing that will teach them or that will touch their hearts, that's the way you live. They will not listen to your words. They never listen to your words. But they always listen to your actions. My son is 14 years old. I know what I'm talking about. He doesn't care about all of my teachings. The only thing he cares, he watches after me. The way I live, the way I act, the principles that I use. And that's what teaches him, more than anything in this world. So that's what I mean. Okay. So, okay, you made my day today. Yes.
I want to ask that.
Yes.
Since the church, God's Embassy,
yes,
has embarked on some projects, like all the 35 that you said you have before, have you gotten some results in which somebody
being
a financial, like give an example of some of the members of the church,
yes,
involved in teaching people on how to manage their finances,
yes,
which I believe, as I was saying, it's not just Christians, but very maybe unbelievers,
yes,
because people actually need to be taught on how to manage themselves financially. So have you gotten results in which people, they come back and they said, they go back to, let's say you are the person that invited me, you are the person in charge of the finance, you are the one taking it, and then you ask, you are the one taking it, and let's say like you are taking 10 groups of us, and in which someone walk up to you one day and says, this thing that you have been teaching us, how did you learn it? And the person say, okay, I want to follow you to church.
That's the example. That's the answer. He is the one who teaches of finances. And there are about 15 people in our church, in my church, 15 people who came through his project. Some of them, they're already in his project. They're still in his project, helping him. Some of them, they launched their new projects.
And they were unbelievers before?
Non-believers at all.
But now, are they
now
believers?
They're believers. That's sin. So you understand? I understand. That's what he does. By the way, his wife, Anthony, come here. His wife, she came to one of our social projects, preparation for marriage. Totally non-believer. She was, before she was in unregistered marriage, civil marriage. She lived before she got saved. So she came to find out, okay, how should I build a happy family? When did your wife come to the church? For how many years ago? For Anatomy of Marriage?
3 or 4 years ago.
4 years ago. So she was totally non-believer. He was a believer. He was doing his project, English Speaking Club. But she came for another project, which my wife leads, Preparation for Marriage. She got saved at the lesson number 9. She got saved. So for 8 weeks we were working with her. Yes, my wife was doing the project. Non-believers. So she came as a non-believer. She got saved. She started to grow spiritually in the church. I helped her to grow. Now she's a wife of him. And she's an administrator of the church now, my church. And she does her project now. You understand that? That's how the church should grow. You don't understand?
I understand, it's just...
It breaks your mind. Yes. That's why we call church shift. That's what church shift. You understand? She would never come to the church because she didn't have me. You know, I can give you the whole explanation. There is, you know, probably I should give you the teaching probably. I'll give you the cards at the end. So I'll send you if you will write, so he will send you the link to the church shift explanation video. You will get that where you will understand that the church shift, it's you know, just a regular thing. That's what we had in the past within the church. We had it, but now we don't have it. You know, many people, they don't come to the church because there is no need for them to come. Right. For example, if you want to drink and I propose you a food, you don't take the food because you want to drink. So if the person has a problem with the marriage and we propose the person to read the Bible, the person within the, you know, it's like they don't intersect. You know, the lines, they don't intersect. They don't see the necessity. They don't understand. So as a church, we became socially irrelevant institution. But actually, in the beginning, it wasn't so. In the beginning, church was always socially relevant institution. Let me prove it to you. For example, whom of you have heard Jean Calvin? You've heard. Which city he was located? Geneva. So, who has developed the budget of Geneva? Jean Calvin. Who has created the first choir in Geneva? Jean Calvin. Who has created, you know, library? Jean Calvin. Who has created the principles of business? Jean Calvin. Who has created, you know, everything, you know, entertainment? Jean Calvin. So actually he is the one who has made the history of Switzerland. And here we are. And he had no problem with the church. The whole city was in his church. On Sundays, it started with Geneva. On Sundays, people did not work because they were in the church. That's how it works. That in those days, the church was socially relevant. Now, the church became socially irrelevant. In other words, our proposal for the world, for non-believers, our proposal is praise, worship, reading the Bible, prayer. Which actually most of them, they don't need because they don't understand that they really need that. You getting the point? It's a whole course. Yes. Your question, you said. Yes.
I'm Prince Phil. I just wanted to connect to his question. So these projects that are run by the church,
yes,
are they run under the name of the church?
No, each of them, they have their own name. For example, what's the name of your project?
Rules of Money.
Can you speak louder, please?
Rules of Money.
Rules of Money. What is your project?
English Speaking Club, New Time.
So all of them, they are not under for the world, they are independent. But I know within the church, he is the leader of the home group. So every person who is getting saved through him comes to the church, to his home group, and that's how he connects to the church. You understand that? But my goal as a pastor, once again, for example, how many times at the last session of your project, how many times I've been at your project as a pastor? I've not even been at his project. Why? I don't need. He's the pastor of that. He's a social pastor of those people. I'm not their social pastor. So the idea, I raise pastor, we raise leaders.
Yes, sir.
You know, you see, we raise leaders. They don't even know me, who I am. I don't need that. How many times I've been at your project, this session? I don't even attend. I don't need that.
Usually say hi.
I just come, say hi, hello, and that's all. But then after they get saved through him, they come to the church where I pastor them. So as a pastor, I'm not getting distressed with, being everywhere. I don't need to be everywhere. I need to do what I was called. My calling is to be a pastor. He's calling to be a businessman. He's calling to be a teacher. Let him do what he needs to do. Let him do what he needs to do. And let me do what I need to do. Everybody, because if I would do what he wants to do, what he was called to do, I wouldn't be effective and he would not be effective. You understand that?
Sorry, another question.
Yes.
So I just wonder, as when you say this English teaching club now,
Yes.
If I come to the club, an English teaching club, and you are teaching me English, I
Yes.
don't see why I don't see myself asking you about your God
Yes.
or your church. So I don't know, is it that we or the teacher is the one that ends up connecting God to the training, or you just hope that this person gets interested in the God that, because if you're teaching a professional course, all you have to do is go to school. Like, you don't necessarily need God involved for you to teach a professional course.
You see, Anthony, why they need New Time for Africa project. I'm telling you, now you understand. The Africa, they don't understand this idea. They don't understand the concept. By the way, okay, let me explain. We have started the project. It's free of charge project for Africans. We call it New Time for Africa. What do we do there? We teach everything. You ask me now, everything. We teach at this project. We teach how to create the program, how to define your calling, how to change your life, how to transform your life, time management, effectiveness. We teach all of these things for free, and there is a system, and it's free of charge. Any person could join the project, and it's much even better if you join this project while you are here, because it's in Africa the problem is sometimes internet connection, because it's online. But if you're here, internet here in Ukraine is better than in Africa. So any of you can join that project. It's for free. He's the manager. That's another project that he has. That he's a manager of that project also. What he does, every week you get a lesson on video. You watch that lesson, and then we meet offline or online. We meet for explanation, because people, after they watch something, they ask some questions. They have some questions. So I explain. I give explanation to the questions. So, and they understand. If they follow, it's like, it's the course which for 4 months, every, week by week, will lead for you to fulfill your own, to define your calling, and to fulfill your calling, to start to do your project. Okay, but answering your question, every project has 3 stages. Every project has 3 stages. Stage number 1, you have to realize the major problem why people, they don't ask, or even if you propose them to get saved, the main reason why most of them, they don't respond is simply because they don't know you, or in other words, they don't trust you. Whom of you came to the church, you remember the day when you got saved in the church? Whom of you remember that day? You've not been a Christian before, but then you came to the church. Whom of you? Or you've been born in the churches? You remember. How old were you? How old were you? 14. Who brought you to the church? Did you trust your friends? You see? So if I as the stranger would meet you on the street and will tell you, hey, let's go with me to the church. In the church, you'll have to repent in all of your sins, because you're a sinner, by the way. So you did something wrong. Can you imagine? You see me for the first time in your life, and I'm telling you that you did something wrong. You already do something wrong. You die, you go to hell. Will you follow me to the church? Of course not. And that's the problem. Many people, they don't know you. In other words, they don't trust you yet. So what do? The first stage, it takes about 8 weeks. 8 weeks. We don't talk to them. We don't talk to those people about God. What do? We give them the knowledge. We give them the topic that they are interested in, they need. We give them the food, what they need. You remember Jesus once, he said, if the person is hungry, give him the food. But sometimes, person is hungry and we teach the person. Don't teach, give him the food. So if the person doesn't speak English, so teach him English. If the person needs to know about money, give him the knowledge about money, not about Bible, about money. But then in 8 weeks, meeting with you weekly, at least once a week, they start to know you more and more. They start to hear, okay, the guy is smart, the guy is good. I see that, okay, I've heard it from somewhere else. Okay, I've heard it from some other people. Okay, very good, good guy. And then you come to the point in about 2 months. You come to a point about relationship. You remember, my sister, you asked me about relationships. In about 2 months, you start to trust that person. And the person that you trust, when you trust, you start to either ask questions, or we have a lesson which allows us, we call that lesson the values of life. And that lesson is stage 2. At this stage, all of them, we ask them to repent at the end of that. I explain them the main things, values of life. We do it the way we wrap it in such a package that at the end of the lesson, they have only one question. You know what is the question? How can I get those spiritual values? Tell me. The only question, only one question. And what is my answer? I give them the altar call, repentance prayer. I tell them everything starts with that prayer. And after that, the third stage is I need to establish them at the church. Establish. So every project should go at least from 4 to 6 months. During these 4 to, after 2 months, after 8 weeks, they get saved, then they're established in the church. That's all. And you do it sequentially. When you do it, am I happy if I do my project? Yes, because it's my life calling. Is my pastor happy if, because I do my project? Yes, because I bring new people I bring to the church. Is he happy? Yes, because he trains them. Do they become happy? Yes, because he helped them to discover their life calling. He helps them to solve their problem. And then he helps them to discover their life calling. And he releases them in the ministry. Their own ministry. And more of that, you know what? As a church, we provide them. If they need to print the flyers, we pay for those flyers. If they need a place, for example, where to gather people together, the church rents the place and we give them for free. Is it a good thing? Most of you would love to start, but because of the lack of the place and the lack of finances to launch, you can't do it. As a church, I as a pastor, I'm very interested in doing that. I'm very interested in funding, these people. Where do I fund, how do I fund them? From the church offerings. Actually, we don't need church offerings, but, to raise people, to help them to do that. So there is no problem. Actually, we are, as a church, we have to solve the problem. We don't have to create the problem. Now you understand? Did I answer your question? Okay. So now let me tell you about this New Time for Africa project. Can you ask Anthony, please, to come? This New Time for Africa project. Actually, what we did, we just, traveling many times to Nigeria and Africa, they asked me, they asked the same questions many times. Trust me. So listening to their questions, I came to the point. Okay, if they want me to answer their questions, then we need to. If they ask me these questions, then I need to bring them solution. But as a person of, as a systematic person, I don't want to, to explain each of them, to answer each of them the same questions. You understand that? It's not wise. It's just wasting of my time and their time, but mostly my time. Okay, so what did I do? I created this system. We call the system New Time for Africa project. It's free of charge. So what do? I recorded okay, let me give you the topics. I recorded about 24 topics, and each of these topics, they contain within it the answers to most of their questions. Now let me show you what are they. Okay. Yeah. Number one, list of life values of a person. Number one, life values of the person. Why values? You don't understand. You don't understand why values, but I'm telling you, as a pastor and as a very person who is I'm very pragmatic. I understand that if you don't change the value system of a person, you can't change the person. Right. Person, life, destiny, and things like that. That's why I wrote this book, for example. It says, "In the beginning was." The book that explains the reasons and gives solutions. So I teach in this book, I teach people about value system. Value system. Why did I write this book? I wrote this book first for Africa, and number two, because even though I teach them, some people, they are like visuals. Some people they're visuals, and some people they're audios, and some people they like to read. So I use different kinds of psychology, psychological tools to achieve, to reach those people. Okay, you got that. So the book, that topic number one. Topic number two is. Topic 2, spiritual minimum, or how to become the person of values. I teach them how to become the person of values. Now they know about values. Now, how to become the person of values. Number 3 is, how to make your values a part of your life. Number 4, calling of the person, or why I was born. Number 5, list of values, or forming the sector of your influence. Your social influence, how to find your social influence. Number 6, Benjamin Franklin's system of life management. That's about time management, effectiveness, money management, things like that. 7, routines or making system to fulfill your goal automatically. Number 8, the how to write or how to form the program for your project. Number 9, why does your project is needed by and interesting for God, people, and society? Number 10, setting goals for your project. Number 11, how to make plan for project. Number 12, practical tools. Number 13, bringing people to faith. That's your question. Number 14, specific problem or solving specific problems of society. Number 15, the system of attracting people and multiplication of your disciples. Number 17, a team raising of team and or mini model of your project. Number 18, why and how to find people to bring people to your team, how to form the team. Number 19, developing system of your mini model multiplication. Number 12, system of people's multiplication in your project. 21, your plan of success for 1 year. 22, what will help you to sustain and multiply your life purpose project. Do I cover with these topics? Do I cover most of your questions? Yeah. So that's why we created this project, and it's free of charge, and he's the one who leads that project. If you need, please give one card to each of you, so you can contact him. His email is there, peoplein@yahoo. So if you are interested, and he will send you the lessons weekly, but it's not just lessons. You will have requirements. Requirements, it means home assignments. And if you don't complete your home assignments, so you are kicked off. It's free of charge. It has to be fair. We don't ask you for your money, but we ask for assignments. Because, I don't want to waste my life by, just giving you the knowledge. I want to be sure, I want to make myself effective. Do you think it's fair? I think it's fair. So, in other words, I exchange my knowledge to your effectiveness and results. So that's how we will change. By the way, if you want this book, you can come to Anthony at the end. It's not for free. No, the course is for free, but the book is not. You understand that? The course is for free, the book is not. But sometimes you have to pay the price. Most of us, we don't want to pay the price. But knowing the financial situation in Africa also, some people are not able, they can't afford some of the things. Some programs, they ask them, thousands and, sometimes hundreds of thousands of nairas. So I understand that it's not fair, to make it, for money. So I said, okay, my pastor, he came from Nigeria. He taught me for free. So my feedback, my favor or my gratefulness to to Africa has to be with the free project. So now you understand why I do it for free, okay? So by the way, and now, how can be helpful to you? Actually, each person that graduates from the project, after one course, if you graduate and you understand your project, you can either to launch your project, or if you want to reach, we give you this. If you want to reach others, we will give you the system. We give you the right to do the same course. So you do the same course. We give you all the tools for that. You do your course with your students, with your environment here or whenever. If you go to Africa, you can do the same course. We give you all of this. If we see that you do the course good, then I will help you to write your own course. And within the New Time of Africa project, we start another course, another course, another. And that's how we'll change Africa. So actually, if someone, how it can be helpful to you, let me show you the principle of, do you know what is, I forgot the name of this word, I forgot it even in Russia. Synergy. Do you know synergy? Yeah. So what is synergy? For example, let's say, if I do one course, there's only one course. And then he starts another course, for example, money management. That's the second course. And let's say you start the course diligence. And someone else starts the course, I don't know.
Time management.
Time management. For example, if someone is going through my course, and what if I'll advertise to that person your course? Is there a possibility that this person will also take that course for free? Is there a possibility? So actually, what do? We combine, we put together our efforts. That's how we make synergy. And if this person, for example, if he doesn't need the course, but he knows about the course, and what if he recommends someone else that course? So you understand this? So that's a synergy. That's how it works. Yes?
Thank you very much. How do you select the people who
who can start their own course?
Direct the affairs of those classes. The courses.
To launch their own courses. Number one, they have to pass the course, the main course.
So how do people have confidence in the teachers?
In the teachers?
That they can deliver
Okay.
the courses. I mean, the principles of the courses, like diligence. How do I now believe that this man can teach me
Okay. Do you have
everything
kids?
about diligence?
Do you have kids?
No.
Do you have wives?
Not yet.
Not yet. So how can a lady trust you that you will be a good husband? I don't know. How can my wife trusted me in the beginning before she got married to me? I don't know. So the idea is, if the person goes to the course, main course, which is, how to launch your project, if the person is, diligent enough to go to that course, and then the person develops its own course, of course the person, shows me the program. And if I see that the program is good, and, I have to trust. Listen, the pastoring, let me tell you the truth. The pastoring is, I put in him as a leader, I entrust my, no, not just delegate, all of my, no, reputation, I put on him and I trust in him. And if you ask me, will he fail me sometimes? Yes. Will he fail my reputation? Yes. It's true. You can't achieve a great results without believing in people and without having those people to fail you. You can't. It's not possible. I know it. So that's why I have to trust people. I have to trust people. By the way, for example, he's an American. He has American passport. I lived in America as well. Everything that happens in America, it started, most of Americans, they're not professionals. What they started not as a professionals. Let me ask you a question. Steve Jobs, was he a professional? No. What about Mark Zuckerberg? No. What about Bill Gates? No. None of them, they were professionals. They came to that, and that was the consequence. That was the result of many failures. So you have to do it. You can't say it's possible. But if you don't believe, if you're a pastor, if you want to be a leader, and you don't believe in your disciples, you have to train them first, of course. But if you don't believe in them, you can't.
Combination, trust
and teaching. First, they go through the course, and I teach them. I see that they're going. That's why I said, those of you who are not going to do the assignments, you'll be either kicked off, or if you ask me, I want to launch my project, give me the access to those people. I say, no. No, go and do your assignment. It's, for example, whom of you are studying for a doctor? You're getting the education of doctor. If you're not going to complete the examination, will they issue you diploma? No. Without diploma, can you do your work even though you know something? You can. So the same here. I can grant you the access to the database that we have only if I know that you are trusted. If I see that at least you are trying to do your best. Is he the best leader? No. Am I the best leader? No. But I can be trusted. You understand that? Yeah?
Pastor Sunday trusted you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not talking about your trust in him.
Yes.
I'm talking about the people he will be leading in the class.
How they will trust him?
How will he be able to get them to the class? That's what I'm asking.
That's a system. We have system. I'm not going to share with you everything. That's the system. No, you know why? Because I can share with you, but it will take lots of time. We have the system of attraction, people. We have system how they can come. But how will they trust? It depends on him. If they will trust him. It depends on on the level of his professionalism. It depends. He has to work on him. Yeah. Yes. But I gave you everything. For example, do you trust me? I don't care about that. You have to understand. The whole world actually... No. Okay. Do you buy Apple products? Yes. How can you trust? You have to understand, everything in the world is built on trust. You have to, of course, there is there is a reputation already. And sometimes we trust the reputation. But you can't, listen. Sometimes you start something new, you launch something new, and you have no reputation. For example, Kickstarter. Kickstarter, crowdfunding platform. Have you heard about it? Yeah. Crowdfunding. That's where people, they collect, millions of dollars, and they donate millions of dollars for future, something projects. And they don't even know whether the person will do the project or not. But they trust. The world is built on trust. For example, have you ever seen God? How do you trust the pastor? For example, did you get saved that day when they invite you to the church? Did you respond to altar call? Yes. How did you trust that pastor?
Pastor, can I say
we never know. Yes.
But again, I think why to trust me as a teacher, because program built on your lessons. And to trust person, for example, why do we trust Pastor Sunday? We see his fruits. Same thing, this program, it built by you and designed by you. And we know your fruits. We know that you have that social center with how many, like 70 social projects. We have people who are saved. We have and we know that you're the one who's doing things. And we know because you had fruits, I think it's going to work for us. For example, it worked for me, and I know it worked for me. I start the English speaking club. I led it from beginning to the end. Some people got saved. I wrote the program for this project. Because of this project, people got saved, and I have some fruits. So that's why I have ability to teach, ability to lead in this project. I think that was your question, right? To see if it's possible or not possible, right? To follow the person. Am I right? Kind of? No? Okay. Yes? It's okay.
But you can ask the question, write the question, we'll answer, all right?
Yeah.
Maybe we understand something wrong.
No confusion.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you.
Yes.
I think I want to see from his perspective and see if I can help. Because, for example, if I am not in a relationship, like I'm not married, yes, I don't have a wife, probably I don't have any girlfriend I'm dating, and I'm in a position to teach people or to have a project on building good relationships. Now, the first thing that people want to see is you that you're talking about relationship. Let's see your fruits. Let's see what is happening in your relationship. Mm-hmm. Now, in starting that kind of project, I might not necessarily have a fruit, I personally. Mm-hmm. And so that's why most times we can't afford to wait till everyone trusts what you've gotten. Now, your conviction is number one for you. So now when you're convinced of what you've learned and maybe there are two people that you've taught that lesson and you have seen the results in their lives. So even if your life presently you don't have the fruits in your life, as you keep doing what you're doing and you keep teaching those people and they see fruits in their lives, so their testimony will become your testimony automatically. And so because most times, for example, if I'm to teach on how to be a success, now based on your definition, I might not be a success right now because maybe I don't have millions of dollars in my account or I don't have cars. But then I've learned some principles that I'm applying, and based on the phase where I am in right now, I can define myself as a success, but maybe not your definition of success. So, and I know the principles I've learned are working for me. And if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll get to the point where your definition of success will be my reality. So I wouldn't wait for you to trust me before I can launch out and teach or launch into my project. I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And if it's just two people, as a matter of fact, when Jesus Christ was on earth, there were just 12 of them that believed him. There were people that did not believe him. They were like, no, you can't be Jesus. Someone said, no good thing can come out of Israel. But then he knew what he had. He knew that he had this truth. He was so convinced. His conviction was so strong. So the people that believed him, they saw the fruits. And we are here today because of those 12 people that believe this fruit. Yes. So whatever project you're doing, you don't have to wait till everybody trusts you. If there are two people that trust you and you are convinced of what you're doing, keep doing it. their fruits and their testimonies will become your testimony, and then you have fruits.
Actually, the hardest thing out of my experience is not for others to trust you, but for you to believe in yourself so much that you will start.
Yes, most important.
That's the most important. That's the only thing you can change. I can't influence on people's attitude on me. I can't tell people, okay, you have to do this, you have to behave like this, you have to treat me like this, you have to trust me like that. No, what I can do, I can believe in myself. That's what I can do. What helped me, that's one passage from the Bible that was in the book, not so long time ago, I wrote the article about it. It's on the Facebook. It says, by the way, you can find New Time for Africa. Some of the articles, some of the ideas are there also. And what I got, when Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy, he said, let no one neglect, let no one despise your youngness. So what is your youngness? Youngness is imperfectness. Something that you are not so perfect, you are not so good, you are not so trusted yet. But when it says, let no one, about who, who it says, no one, who's no one? First, it's you. You should not despise your youngness. You should not. For example, the way, I speak English today. Do you understand my English? Yes. You understand my English? Not so much. Well, you understand. But for me, for the first time to speak, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge that most of Ukrainians have, they don't believe that their English is good enough to talk. And that's why they never start. How did I start? I started with a broken English, but I started. That's all. And now it's better and better and better. Right. I can write books in English. So it's better now, hopefully. Okay, so I think we have one more question. If you have one more question, then we'll finish. So was it helpful what I gave you, what I explained to you? Was it helpful? So I gave you the tool that you can use to work here, and I answer your question. If you want to find out more about Church Shift, write on the email, and he will send you the link to video about Church Shift, and you will get it. On my channel, on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Bringing my question from his reply.
Yes.
I imagine myself. I'm bringing it on the basis of how we define success. Because if I should be a primary school teacher, and I am imbibing into people's success, but my level of teaching people is at the primary school level, and my students look at me, if you know this, why are you still a primary school teacher? So my question is coming on the basis of predestination, one, or choice.
Yeah.
Do I make a choice to succeed, or I could be predestined to be in a particular place at a particular time for influence? Meaning, do I choose to step out of that place before I can succeed, or I could have been predestined to be here and I yet will be a success for where I am, even though I know all the principles to be in another place?
Okay, I'm not sure if I really understand your question. Can you make it a little bit easier? Because, you said, let me explain, because you said, I understand that you have your own understanding, but I don't really understand your understanding. So if you can repeat.
Okay, maybe the base
make it easier.
Yeah, the base of my question I want to be now is to reconcile predestination for success and choice to succeed. Now, if, as I am here, let's say I have an understanding that I should not leave Ukraine. Okay. I should stay in Ukraine. And I am teaching people how to be an international, success, how you can travel to 24 countries. Okay. But I am in Ukraine. And the person I'm teaching is asking me, since you know all these things, why are you still in Ukraine?
In Ukraine.
So, my success now, is it based on the fact that will it be based on the fact that I'm predestined to be in Ukraine and I'm still here with my knowledge, or that I can choose to use my knowledge and go to all nations?
Okay, I'll try to answer. But try to understand me. I personally, I don't believe in predestination, but that's from one side. From the other side, all of us, we have been predestined by God, to become successful. Why? Because Bible is saying that God wants His children to prosper. Prosper means, to become successful, to grow, okay? So all of us, we've been predestined for success, but the idea of success, for me, success is not about, there are different definitions of success, could be different. For me, success is to become successful in the eyes of God. All the rest for me is the consequence. But of course you will have it. If you're successful in the eyes of God, you will have money. But like Apostle Peter, sometimes you will have money, sometimes you will have no money. And you have to learn, because the biggest challenge that most of the Christians they have, they want to be financially independent because they don't want or they don't know how to live without money. They're not happy to be without money. They don't like that position. So for me, success is to be successful in the eyes of God. So if I teach people how to become successful and they become successful internationally, for me, actually, it does not matter whether I'm traveling or not. If I help them, if they see fruits, if they see results, that's great. That is great. For example, we don't know the name of Steve Jobs' mother. We might not know her personally, but she helped her son to become like he is. So was she successful? Probably yes. But she was successful on her level. We don't even know her name. So it's not about, for me, you have to understand that idea is, the orientation is not on our success. The orientation should be on success of the kingdom. And success of the kingdom, you have to understand that each of us, we have our own position, our own calling. And, for example, some people, they like to be doctors. If you ask me, do I like to be a doctor? Even though the profession might be very, like promotional, good, I can get good salary. I don't want to be a doctor. It doesn't matter how much you will pay me, I don't like to be a doctor. Even though the profession is good, I don't like doctoring. So that is why, I personally believe that anyone should do what he was called or what he was born to do. And of course, if you do it the right way, for example, I travel in Africa, but I don't travel because it's because no, God has told me, like, I'm raising you on a new level. No, that's because I just understand that if I want to reach, I have a goal from God. I was praying and God gave me the goal. The goal is to reach, to change, or to influence the destinies of 300 million people. If I really want to do these, I understand that I can't find 300 million people being in Ukraine only. So that's why I need to learn English. I need to learn another language, at least French. I need to learn, and I need to travel sometimes. So that's why I travel. I pray and I see that God is opening the door, so I travel. But I don't travel to be successful. I travel just to, fulfill the purpose, to reach the goal of God. That's all. But even I can be in Ukraine. Today, sometimes you don't even need to travel because of modern means, online. You don't need to travel. For example, Pastor Sunday, he's not traveling. But he's not limited with that.
So how do we now balance our ability to be unlimited and our ability to stay on course?
Listen, to stay on course, you have to understand. You stay on your course, but the limitation, you have to understand the system. It depends on the system you create. For example, for me, the system is, there are many different ways I can reach my goal. One, I can travel all the time, all around the globe. That's one of the ways, one of the opportunities. One of the ways how I can achieve it. Number two, I can create my TV channel. Number three, I can raise disciples. There are many different types of systems you can do it. So you choose on your system, and you stay on your course, on your calling, and the limitation, the limitation that you will have or you might have, that will be the limitation of the system you use in order to achieve your goal. For example, I use the system of multiplication of leaders, independent leaders. Why? Because I want to launch the system that will not depend on me. Because if he becomes an independent leader, then my influence is not limited by me anymore. It's on him. So actually I multiplied myself. So I believe in multiplication of personality. Some people, they believe in TV. Some people, they believe in online. Some people, they believe in traveling by themselves. It's up to them. I think I tried to answer.
I actually just want to add something. The understanding I think most of us have is that when a person is successful is when the person is become a millionaire or billionaire somewhere with a big company standing out. I want to answer a question, and I think I want also to base it on the trust issue. That you say, how can you make somebody trust you in everything? I am not married, I'm not dating, but there's something that found me, marriage counseling. I was never married. But then it was just an email, an SMS that came in my Facebook of a person who was being abused by her husband, being beaten and being everything, and she was just, she wanted divorce. And it gave me joy just to know that I restored a marriage. And it was just like happening on and going.
Let me ask you a question. What recommendations did you give to that lady?
Actually, the first thing I told her is submission.
No. Okay. What was the source of the recommendations?
It's the Bible.
The Bible. So actually, it's not up to her and her experience and knowledge. It's about the Bible. We give people the Bible, the truth of the Bible.
Yeah.
We don't give them. Listen, we don't help people with our experience. Yes, we may help. It can be helpful. But what if I don't have? I've never been a grandfather. But I give recommendations to how to be, how to treat, grandchildren. Like you, yeah.
Does she know I'm married? No. I think she just saw the post that I post on my Facebook page, and she assumed, I don't know. You don't have to be something to help somebody else. The purpose is for the kingdom. If you are doing something for your own self, even if God has a hand in it, it will be still not of anything, because you have not came up to the aim of the purpose of what God has put in you. Though He has blessed you and you are going to do it, you still doing, but you still just out of.
Yeah, let me give you my example. Thank you so much. When I was about 20, I got saved when I was 19. When I was about 20, I think 20. Some people, I was a military, and I'm military in my past, military officer, and I was really good. I graduated my high school with a silver medal, which is, I only had A's, but because I graduated military school, then I got not gold medal but silver medal. I got red diploma, good diploma, only A's, 5 A's only in my diploma, so I was smart enough. I never smoked in my life. Maybe I tried 2 times when I was a child. I never drink alcohol. I never used drugs. I've never been in a prison, jail, things like that. And my first home group, you will be surprised. One guy, he was a former KGB officer. Another lady was his wife, and another 3 people. Some of them, the least of them, he was about 7 years in prison. Former gangsters. I didn't know how to work with these people. I've never been there. So I was, I thought like, okay, what should I tell them? I shared with them the gospel of, the Bible, the principles of the Bible. At the 4th meeting, home group number 4, after the home group, one of them, during the home group, he started to cry. I've seen tears in his eyes. After that, I started to talk to him, and he came to me and he said, listen, it touched my heart so much. And then I realized, listen, it's not about me. That's about him. So even when you do your social project, yes, you wrap your ministration in a social language, but within it, the containers, the very essence of it is love, principles of God, and the presence of God that you have. Yeah, that's all about. That's how they. Because sometimes, yes, you can be right. Probably you're right. Sometimes the thing that we want to bring them, we want to teach them, these are things that actually only God can reveal it to them. So that's why I rely on Him, that He can do. That's why I'm a Christian. So I don't do my own. I do His work. And also I need spirituality in that. Yes. That will be last question, all right? Or you want to ask the question? Okay, 2 more questions. 1 and 2, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much for the teaching. You've really impacted us. My question is, do you have situations of people whereby you impacted them socially, but yet they never received Jesus?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
And what has been your reaction to them?
No, I love them. I
Show them love, and I try to build relationship, long-term relationship, even though they are not Christians. The problem is that as a Christians, we're afraid of building relationship, or we don't see the future of relationship with non-believers. I believe I believe and I build relationship with them long-term, and some of them sooner, some of them later. I know that they will think about it at least. At least they will think about it. But I keep on. There is one lady, she goes almost 3 years, she goes to one of our projects, and she says that I'm going to go forever, but she doesn't want to come to she doesn't want to come to the church. Okay, which is okay. But some of us will be frustrated. I don't get frustrated because of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, last question, because I have to 8:30, 6:30, I have a meeting with leaders.
It's more like a contribution. Today we already taught that true success comes as a result of discovering what you were born to do.
Yes.
So our true success comes as a result of our being unveiled and the discovery of our purpose here on earth. And we learned that to discover our purpose, we can only discover our purpose in a stage of maturity as sons. Because we need to understand that the world are waiting for the manifestations of son. So the definition of success, really, true success, is actually attached to us discovering our purpose. So in as much as, or as long as you discover what you were created to be, then you have fulfilled purpose, and as a result, we are being successful.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, last question. Very last question. The last question.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I don't know how to put this question, but I will just try to put it in a small scale.
Okay.
I've been having this personal challenge, and I've realized it because when we are made Christians, you're a new creature. You're trying to become more like Christ. But in the reality, I don't know the middle point, because in reality, when we are dealing with we are human beings and we have our emotions.
Yes.
And the question is, how do we are first, no matter how much we try to think like Christ per se, that we'll always be faced with our human emotions. Like you said, most cases of feeling like when we should think like selfless, we become self.
Yeah.
Self. I don't know how, is there like, are we trained prior before we get into these things? Are we trained to manage our emotions, or in the course of our journey we face these emotions and then go and work on it or something? Like how
Second choice. You can't be trained, because some of the things you don't even know how you will react. For example, I don't know what will be my reaction. You don't know what will be your reaction to mid-age crisis. You don't know. So you never know. You just prepare. You think that you do better. You do the best you can. But the rest, you have to deal with that on your way. Some of the things you'll challenge them, you'll face them, and you'll be challenged on your way. And as higher you go in your life, in your success, more challenges and new challenges you will get. There are some challenges that Pastor Sunday is facing with, and he will be faced in the future, and he doesn't even know about them probably.
Okay. So one more thing, like in dealing with people again,
yes.
Assuming that I'm a Christian now, and I assume in my head that every Christian I meet should be like the Bible, like have the fruits of the Spirit, like all these good characters.
Yeah, you have to split it in your head. The Christianity and personality. These are two different things, and never, because otherwise you will be one day you'll be self-deceived. Because some people, they're saying, oh, I don't want to have something, I don't want to have nothing common with the Christians, in my business. That's not true. I mean, Christians are good, but personalities are different. And you have to understand, you have to realize, you have to think about it. So that's why your choices in life should not be based on faith, on a religion. It should be based on personality. So there are some Muslims that can be more trusted than Christians, some of the Christians. And in business, that's why I don't believe personally in Christian, so-called Christian business, because Christianity is, all of us were different. All of us were different. So I don't believe in that. All right. So thank you so much once again. As you remember, here is the book. You can come. We will leave in 5 minutes. We'll leave in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and there's limited edition, so if you want, it's over there on the end.
There are only 10 copies.